This is Bethany Dotson, and I wanted to go live today and talk about two vital must-have things that you need in order to overcome codependency. So let me know if you drop on live and you can hear me, number one. Let me know if I am right side up, because I'm trying to do this for my iPhone and I had to rotate anyway, some technical thing that I'm trying to figure out. So let me know if you have any comments or questions below. Drop them below and I'll answer them either now when we're live or later when this is on a replay. So I wanted to talk about codependency. And if you're in this group, if you're watching this right now, if you have a pattern of unhealthy relationships, meaning the majority of your relationships, your intimate relationships, maybe even your family relationships, friendships, tend to have an unhealthy pattern, it's quite likely that you have some codependency traits. And what exactly is codependency? Some of you might know this, especially if you've done a lot of research on narcissistic abuse or abusive relationships. Codependency is a series of behaviors. It's a behavior pattern that's basically steeped in fear and control. If you have a past, if you grew up in a childhood where your needs weren't attended to, if your parents weren't attuned to you, if they were too busy, or if they had their own issues or addiction issues, or if they were somehow abusive, it's quite likely that as you have grown up into your adult life, you've developed a series of subconscious coping mechanisms that shows up as codependency when it's in relationship. So what does this look like? How do you know if you're codependent? If you move too fast, some hallmark signs of codependency are you move too fast in relationships, meaning you tell yourself logically that you want to take it slow, and then when the relationship comes along and you're in the throes of the emotion and the chemicals and all the feel-good hormones, you bypass all of your boundaries and you plow through and move extremely fast in relationship. It also can show up as moving from one relationship to the other, not giving yourself any time and just hopping from one to the next, to the next, to the next. It can show up as poor boundaries, meaning maybe you have made a promise to yourself that you're not going to be intimate with a partner until you get to know them better, and then on the first or second date that all goes out the window and you bypass your own boundaries, you violate your own boundaries. It shows up as ignoring red flags and yellow flags. I'm going to talk about yellow flags sometime next week. It shows up as the relationship progresses, when your partner begins to show who they really are, or their true colors, if you will, or signs that they might have some behavior that you're not okay with. Instead of setting a boundary for yourself and communicating what you want and what you need, you instead try to get them to go back to the way that they were in the beginning, or you tend to place all of your happiness on the hope that they'll change that bad behavior so that you can be happy. And you try to get them to go to counseling, you try to get them to change their behavior, to fix their issues, to cut back on drinking, to cut back on playing so many video games, in order for yourself to be happy. And you can spend an inordinate amount of your time worried about where you stand in the relationship, worried about the future of the relationship, and it becomes this all-consuming thing in your life that you're living day to day that eats you up literally on the inside, creating physical symptoms. A lot of people that I speak to have fibromyalgia, they have digestive disorders, they get chronic headaches, they don't sleep well at night, they snap at their kids because they're extremely anxious all the time, or they're waiting for the next shoe to drop in the relationship. So all of those signs are hallmark traits of codependency and how it can show up in your intimate relationship, especially if you have a pattern of unhealthy ones. So what are and I just want to also point out that some people feel, and I personally was one of these people, that, if I don't really need anybody and I don't need to depend on anybody. And I personally confuse, and I've seen other people do this too, I confuse codependency with depending too much on someone. And that's not exactly what the word means or what codependency is. Codependency is really when you are subtly or subconsciously trying to control a situation, trying to get your needs met, trying to fix the other person so you get your needs met. That's codependency. So what are the 2 must-have traits that you need to break it? So number 1 is that you need self-awareness. And if you're watching this right now, you're probably going, yeah, I'm aware that I have a problem. I'm aware that my relationships tend to be a train wreck. Or I'm aware that I keep attracting the wrong kind of guy and I don't know why. So you have a lot of logical perception of something's not right. You have some self-awareness. But the problem that happens is that when you are in the throes of the initial rush of chemistry, when you meet someone new, when you're feeling excited and giddy and you're thinking about your glorious future together when it's only been a couple of dates, what tends to happen is you bypass that self-awareness. That self-awareness goes out the window. You might feel or sense it in your body as red flag, but you tend to let that awareness go out the window. And the reason that this happens is because when we logically make a promise to ourselves, we're using the front part of our brain, the prefrontal cortex. And when we are in the process of falling for somebody, this basically goes offline. We get into what's called our reptilian brain, our emotional brain. We get a rush and a dump of hormones and chemicals in our body. And this basically goes dark. We're not really thinking clearly. We get swept up. And that's why it's so critical to develop strong enough self-awareness that you can recognize when you are when you're overstepping your boundaries, and most importantly, to do something differently about it. And to create that self-awareness requires consistency and practice, and developing what's something that I like to call, and people in the mindfulness community call, the witness or the observer. Being able to step away and detach from your emotional, goodness, this is the guy of my dreams, I'm going to move in with him next week. Being able to detach from that pattern and see it clearly for what it is, and recognize that that's not something that you want to continue to do again. So developing that self-awareness requires a lot of consistency and a lot of practice on slowing down your reactions, and learning to be responsive. So the second trait that is vital for codependency in your relationships is learning to make healthier choices, and along with that goes getting out of your comfort zone. So one of the biggest reasons why we override red flags is because it's going to feel uncomfortable to set a boundary. It's going to feel like we're losing something if we stand up for ourselves. We run the risk of turning the other person off. We run the risk of losing this fairy tale that's just started to develop. And we lose the attention, we lose the validation, we lose all of that feel-good, all the feel-good behavior that we're getting from the other person when we override red flags. And we want to believe that our intuition is just, us being overly cautious. So making different choices requires that you get uncomfortable. You face your fear and you face your discomfort in order to set a boundary. Many people that I work with and that I speak to on a weekly basis have a very, very difficult time setting boundaries. A lot of the times because they don't want to hurt somebody else's feelings. So learning to overcome your codependency, and most importantly, change your pattern in relationship, means that you need to make choices that are healthy for you, that are in alignment with your boundaries, meaning you're not overriding your boundaries. And in order to do that, you need to be willing to get a little uncomfortable, because what you've been doing, believe it or not, is actually more comfortable than standing up for yourself. Ironically, or unfortunately, it's causing you a greater amount of pain in the long run and long range, long lasting side effects psychologically, mentally, and emotionally. And if you have kids, you're also influencing them with your relationship choices. So those are the two vital traits, the two vital must-haves you need in order to begin overcoming codependency. So number one is self-awareness, and self-awareness like times 100, like beyond your logical surface level of like, yes, I think I have a problem, I need to fix this. You need to be very, very aware of your own behavior, your own reactions when you are in the middle of feeling. And you need to develop the awareness to slow yourself down in those moments and come back online up here so that you can make healthier choices. And when you make those healthier choices, it's going to feel uncomfortable. It's going to feel like you're making a mistake. Maybe it's going to feel like, is this person going to stick around? Am I doing the right thing? You're probably going to have a lot of doubt because it's new and it's out of your comfort zone. And the codependency that you've been living in for X number of years, many, many women that I talk to, FYI, have been like this for the majority of their adult life, like 20 or 30 years. When you start to make a different choice, a healthier choice, it's not going to feel good right away. It's going to feel uncomfortable. And that is the key, is being willing to embrace your feelings and risk going into the discomfort so that you can make healthy choices for you. And I promise, when you start to apply those two foundational pieces in your life, especially when you're in dating and when you are meeting someone new and you're falling for someone new, the reward is far, 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 far greater than any little niggling discomfort that you can have. So that is what I have for you today. If you want help overcoming your relationship patterns, whether you keep getting guys that just want something casual or they just want you for sex, or you keep finding yourself attracting men or partners who are recently out of a relationship, or they're still married but they're separated, or you keep finding yourself attracting men who come on really, 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 really strong in the beginning and then start to pull back or start to display some kind of emotionally abusive or manipulative tendencies in the relationship, and you stay hoping that it's going to work out. Book some time to chat with me and we'll talk about breaking your cycle. www.bethanydotson.com/apply. www.bethanydotson.com/apply. This is for you if you are ready to change. This is for you if you're not currently in an abusive relationship, meaning you must be done. You can't be hoping that after breaking up 25 times that you're going to get it right the 26th time. You need to be done and ready to move forward. So again, that's bethanydotson.com/apply. And I hope you have a wonderful, happy new year and a wonderful start to your 2020. I'll see you soon.